Hi everybody, this is Peter. I'm going to be going through a race using the Fast Action Racing board game from Downey Games. It's kind of a fun little game. Just to preface all this, I know nothing about racing. I've never watched a stock car NASCAR race or any kind of race like that on TV. But this is a fun game. So hopefully people who really know their racing will find it fun too. So yeah, I'm going to go through the whole race because it only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play a whole race, and the race is broken down into phases, and you're just doing the checks against things, and I'll explain that a little bit in a little bit. I've ordered the ebook version, and so you have, like the website says, you have to print out about 30 pages worth of stuff. 4 of the pages are the actual game board here, which is like 8.5 by 11 sheets all put together. And this is what it looks. This is what the track looks like when there's no driver cards on it. The different shading just means that there's different grooves, they call it, and it doesn't come into play until the end of the race when you're figuring out the finishing order. So, and you see these numbers along the sides. It's just like columns and rows. So you roll 2 6-sided. Most of the time, you're rolling 2 6-sided dice to identify a featured driver. So if you roll like a 3 and a 1, you would look at column 3, and then row 1, and then this would be your targeted driver. With the game, you get the Short Track Legends set of drivers, which is a mix of NASCAR drivers, stock car drivers, and open wheel drivers and some other drivers. And there's various guys. I've actually heard of some of these guys, like AJ Foyt and Jeff Gordon. I've heard of, but that's about the only people I've heard of. So these are what the driver cards look like. With the ebook, of course, I'm not sure how many pages this takes up. Probably about 4 pages or something like that. But even if you order the printed version, you would still have to cut up these driver cards because they're not. Because I guess they're a unique size. So that's what the driver card looks like. You also get a set of track cards with the set with real life tracks. This is the one in Berlin, which is what we're going to be playing tonight. And there's other ones. There's Milwaukee, Iowa, etc. So you get a whole bunch of tracks. I think there's about 20 tracks in all. So that's pretty good. And you also get these lapped markers. There's like 3 colors. It's red, yellow, and green, depending on what event happens in the race. And you get the rule book and a score sheet. So I'll just show you the score sheet a bit. Basically, each race is broken down into phases. The first phase is where you just determine who gets the pole position. And the second phase is a mechanical, called the mechanical, where you check against, see if certain drivers run into mechanical trouble. The next phase is green, where you just check, looking at challenges to the race leader under green flag conditions. The next phase is pit crew checks, so you're checking against the pit crew ratings of certain drivers, and then you're checking for penalties coming out of against the pit crews of certain drivers too. The next phase is called contact, and that's just to check against the contact ratings of the drivers to see if they get into a wreck. And then the last phase is called the closing laps phase, and you may or may not get another mechanical check against leader or contacts or pit crews and stuff like that. You have to roll the dice to see whether things happen or not in that closing laps phase. And then the last one standing at the end is the winner, and then you determine the race order. It's got a mechanic for doing that. Okay, so I guess we'll get going here. So basically, you just roll the 2 6-sided dice, and what we're going to be looking at is the this number here where it says 23, that's the pole position number. So whatever driver number matches the dice roll will be the one against the pole position. So I rolled a 14, and just give me a minute to find who has number 14 on their card, and it's Jeff Gordon. So we'll just put a little token on Jeff Gordon to show that he's got the pole position. Okay, so the next thing you do is you roll to identify a driver who's going to challenge for the lead. So roll the die, and it's a 2-1. So that would be column 2, row 1. So it's this driver right here, Ken Schrader. And what we're going to be looking at is this number here on the left, which is called the race rating. That's the number in green. And we're comparing his, which is an 8, with Jeff Gordon's, which is a 7. So the difference is +1, because you're looking at it from the challenger's point of view. So it's basically the rating of the challenger minus the rating of the leader. So it's +1. So you look on the quality pass matrix, and +1, you need a die roll of 6 to 12 in order for it to be successful. And we roll a 2, so it's not successful. So Gordon is still the leader. So anyway, Gordon is still the leader, so I'll just write that down. And so next phase is the mechanical phase. So what we do is we roll the dice to find out who the identified driver is, and then we look at the 4 adjacent ones. So I rolled a 3-1. So that's Dick Trickle. And then when you look at the adjacent drivers, what you do is you take the drivers that are at the clock positions of 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And I'll get to the 6 o'clock part in a second here. So we've got Gary St. Amand, Tim Steele, and since the 6 o'clock one is off the board, you actually go up to sort of wrap around and go to the top of the board here in this case, and AJ Foyt is in the 6 o'clock position, and then Ken Schrader is the next one here. So we're looking at the driver's mechanical rating, which is the rating in red, the third one here. And basically we're just seeing if the dice roll compares with their rating. So St. Amand's 11, so he's fine. Tim Steele's at 10, and he's fine. I rolled a 5. Foyt is an 8. I rolled a 5, and he's fine. And actually, I should have been starting with Dick Trickle. So let me start that over again. Sorry about that. Okay, Trickle rolls at 10. He's fine. St. Amand is fine. Tim Steele's at 10, and he's fine. Foyt is an 8, and he's fine. And Schrader is an 11, and I rolled a 6, and he's fine too. So no mechanical trouble for anybody that turn. So, all right. So now we end this phase with a challenge to the leader. So we just rolled 2 dice to see who challenges, and I rolled a 1-2. So that's Shorty Henshaw is challenging. So he's a 7, and so is Gordon. So that's a difference of 0. So we need a dice roll of 7 to 12, and I rolled an 8. So Henshaw is the new race leader. Okay, so the next phase is the green flag conditions. So we're going to roll to get our identified driver and the 4 adjacent drivers, and each one of them is going to challenge the race leader. So I rolled a 4-6. So we've got Tom Pistone, and Tim Steele at the 12 o'clock position, Sammy Swindell at 3 o'clock, Herb Thomas at 6 o'clock, and AJ Foyt at 9 o'clock. So we'll start with Tom Pistone. He's a 9. Henshaw is a 7, so that's a +2. So he only needs a dice roll of 5 to 12 to be successful, and we roll an 8. So Pistone is the new leader. Okay, so now the next one is Tim Steele. He's a 7. Well, Pistone is a 9, so the difference is -2, so we need a roll of 9 or better. No, he's not successful. Sammy Swindell is an 8. And he's successful, so he takes over. Okay, the next one is Herb Thomas, who's a 10. And he's successful, so in his challenge, he takes over as the leader. And AJ Foyt is -1. He needed an 8 to 12. I rolled a 9, so Foyt is now the new leader. So a lot of different leaders there. Normally, you're supposed to write down who took over the lead in each thing there, because each driver gets credited with points for leading a certain lap or a certain number of laps. So, but for the purposes of the video, I haven't been writing them down for the most part. So, okay, so the next phase we have is the pit crew. So again, we're going to roll to get our 5 drivers, and we're going to be looking at the pit crew rating this time. So I rolled a 3-1. So we have Dick Trickle, Gary Saint-Amand, Tim Steele. Now the driver down here is actually AJ Foyt, who's the race leader. So what we do is look at the highest rated of the ones who are adjacent to Foyt. And Trickle is at the 12 o'clock position, so we ignore him. So we look at these three drivers here. And out of those 3, Tom Pistone has the highest rating. So Pistone's going to be that challenger. And then the last one is Ken Schrader. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the difference in the pit crew rating between these challengers and the leader. Okay, so Trickle's up first. He's a 9. Foyt is a 10. And we roll a 12. So Trickle takes over as the leader. And I'll write that down this time. Okay. Next is Gary Saint-Amand. He's an 8, so he's -1. Sorry, I'll let go of the things. Just realized I was jiggling it. Sorry about that. Yeah, he's successful. So Saint-Amand takes over as the leader. Sorry, just a second. I just had to do some mental processing here. Yeah. Okay. So next is Steele. So Steele is successful. Then Pistone is next. Oh, Pistone doesn't. And then Schrader's last, and they're even, so I just need to roll a 7 to 12, but he doesn't. Okay, so Steele is the leader. So now we're checking for a penalty to see if there's a pit violation. So roll and see who the identified driver is and the 4 adjacent ones. So I rolled a 1-1, so that's Shorty Henshaw. So Bill Venturini, Ken Schrader, Frank Kimmel, and Jarrett. Okay, so for this phrase, what happens is, yeah, we just roll, and we don't have to change the leader. I think. Yeah, it's just basically we're not rolling against the leader, we're just rolling against the pit rating of the driver. So Henshaw is a 6, and I rolled a 3, so he escapes the penalty. Venturini's a 7. We roll a 7, but as long as the roll is less than or equal to the pit rating, there's no pit violation, so he's okay. Schrader is a 7, but we roll an 8, so that means Schrader's pit crew is committed a violation, and so he gets a green lapped marker. Next is Frank Kimmel. He's a 7, and they roll a 9, so he gets a pit violation, so he gets a green lapped marker. And then Ned Jarrett, who's a 10, and I roll a 6, so he's okay. So Steele is still their leader, and to end off this phase is a challenge. So it's a 4-1, and actually that's 4-1 is actually Tim Steele's position. So since that happens, we just simply roll again. No, actually we don't. We just look at the highest rated of the drivers who are adjacent to the leader. So Richie Evans is a 9, Iggy Katona is a 9, Tom Pistone is a 9, and Dick Trickle is a 7. But we look at the 12 o'clock position first, and so Richie Evans is the one who's going to be challenging. So he's a 9. Tim Steele is a 7. So that's a +2, so he only needs to roll a 5, but he rolls a 2. And so he does not successful in his challenge, so Steele remains the leader. Okay, the next phase is the contact phase, but that begins with a challenge. And I roll a 4-1 again, so again it's going to be Richie Evans. Just a little aside here, in the rules it says that no driver can challenge more than once in a phase, but since that previous challenge that we just did was the end of the pit crew phase, this is the beginning of the next phase, which is the contact phase, so it's okay for Evans to challenge twice. So okay, so the +2, so he just needs a 5 to 12 to do it, and this time he does it, so Evans takes over as the leader. Okay, so contact phase. So we just roll the dice to identify our driver. So I roll a 1-4 this time. So we got Rusty Wallace, Tony Stewart, Brett Bodine, Dick Hutcherson, and Steve Kinzer. And we're just going to be looking at their contact ratings, which is the number in yellow. So we start with Rusty Wallace, who's an 8. And we roll an 8, which means he gets minor damage. So we have to put a yellow lapped marker on his card. Tony Stewart is an 8, and we roll a 9. So it's actually greater than his contact rating, so he suffers major damage and is out of the race. So Tony Stewart's gone. I'm just going to write his number at the bottom of on the other side of the score sheet, where you keep track of the final things. Brett Bodine is a 9. I rolled a 4, so he's okay. Dick Hutcherson is a 10. He's okay. Roll a 3, and Steve Kinzer is an 11. And I rolled a 12, so he's out of the race. He's a good driver for contact, but I guess just had bad luck. So Kinzer is also out. Okay. So Evans is still the leader. There was something I was going to say. Something reminded me. Oh yes. Normally there's 43 racers in a race, and but there's only 36 cards in this set, so that's what I have. But they have it worked out in the rules if you have a normal race of 43 drivers. So you would deal out your 36 drivers, and by the way, you would start at 1-1, and then you sort of work your way up each column as you flip over the cards and get your first 36 drivers. And then the remaining 7 would just be put up off the top of the board here in a stack, I guess. And then they would get to come on the board if somebody was lapped. So like if we had more than 36 drivers, these drivers that have the lapped markers would actually be taken off the main track display, and then you would take a driver from the stack of 7 and then replace them on the board as you go. There's also they also have a thing in the back of the rules that if you have less than 36 drivers in your race, then it tells you how to place the drivers at the beginning. Okay, so now we're on to the pit stops under caution, and we're again going to be looking at the pit crew rating, and but comparing that to the race leader's pit crew rating. So in this case, we don't roll to see who the identified driver is. We're just going to take the 4 drivers that are adjacent to the race leader, and then we're going to roll to get 1 more random driver. So that'll be Reggie Ruggiero, Benny Parsons, Tim Steele, and Gary St. Amand. And we're going to roll for the last one, and that's a 6-5, and that's Mark Martin right there. Okay. So we're going to be looking at the difference in the pit crew rating. So Ruggiero is first, and he's a -2 because he's an 8, and Richie Evans is a 10. So you need a 9 to 12. So roll a 5, so it's not successful. And Benny Parsons is a 7, so it's -3, so it's 10 to 12 you would need. He's not successful. Steele is also a 7. Nope. St. Amand is an 8. No. And Martin is a 7. Oh, but he rolls a 10. He just needed a 10 to 12, so. So in this case, only the leader, the person who's in the who had the last successful challenge would be the leader. So if say in that case, if Reggie Ruggiero was successfully challenged and nobody else did on that thing, then Ruggiero would be the race leader in that case. But in this case, Mark Martin was the last one to challenge, and he was successful. So Martin is now the leader, and then we have a challenge as the last part of this phase from 1-6, and that's Frank Kimmel, who's actually lapped. So sorry, I just have to check something. Yeah, since he's a red lap driver, then I have to re-roll. So it's a 1-1. So Shorty Henshaw is going to be the challenger, and he's a 7, and Martin is an 8. And he's not successful, so Martin is still the leader and entering the closing laps. So at the closing laps, what you do first is roll to see if there's going to be a mechanical check against the leader. So we have to look at this last highlight events table on the track card. And for a mechanical event check to happen, we need a dice roll of 7 to 12. And we roll a 5, so there's no mechanical check. Now the next part is a challenge to the leader. So it's 6-1, that's Ned Jarrett. So Jarrett is a 10, Martin is an 8, so that's a +2, so we need a roll of 5 to 12 for him to take over. And he does. So Ned Jarrett is now our leader. Okay, the next thing is to see if there's going to be contact check. So for here, we need a roll of 8 to 12, and there is. So we're looking at the race leader and the 4 cars that are adjacent plus 1 random driver. So we have Junior Johnson, Shorty Henshaw, Rich Vogler, and Iggy Katona. I'll just sort of illustrate that with this 12 o'clock stuff like that. So Junior Johnson's at the 12 o'clock position. 3 o'clock position's here, so we actually have to go over to this end of the board to get Shorty Henshaw. The 6 o'clock position, we have to go up to the top to get Rich Vogler, and then the 9 o'clock is just Iggy Katona. Okay, and then we roll to get the random driver, and I roll a 4-2, and that's Richie Evans. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're just rolling against the contact ratings of the drivers. So Junior Johnson's first, he's a 10, and we're rolling 11. That's not good. So Junior Johnson, at this stage of the race, if that happens, you get a dice roll higher than the contact rating, then you get a yellow lapped marker, and he also does not finish the race. So I'm just going to write that on the back. Okay, next one is Shorty Henshaw, who's a 7. No, he's okay. Rich Vogler is an 11. Ooh, there was a 6 there, but turned out to be a 9 all total. So he's okay. Iggy Katona is an 8, so we rolled an 8, so that means he gets a green lapped marker. And then Richie Evans is an 11, and he's okay. So in this one, yeah, there's no challenge there, so Jared is still in the lead. Okay, so yeah, so the contact does happen, so we do have to do this pit stops under caution. So yeah, so I think we're looking at, again, are we looking at the ones adjacent to the leader? Sorry, I just have to check something. Check something in the rules quickly. Sorry about this. Just check this again. I haven't played the game a lot lately, so it's just sort of been out of habit. Out of the habit of playing this, so I just have to do a little refresh of the rules here. Okay. Yeah, I think this is, again, the 4 drivers that are adjacent to the leader, plus a random one. So since Junior Johnson's lapped, we look at the highest rated driver next to him, so so he's a 9, Bill Venturini's an 8, Jarrett is the leader, and Parsons is a 9, but Schatz is in the first position at the 12 o'clock, so it's going to be Schatz, Shorty Henshaw, Rich Vogler, and Katona's lap. So we look at the 4 that are around him. So 9, Jared is the leader, Sammy Swindell is an 8, and Steele is a 7. So it's Benny Parsons this time. Okay, so look at Donnie Schatz first. Schatz is a 9. It's pit current caution. So we look at the pit rating. So it's 9, 10. -1. So yeah, Schatz is successful. Okay, I'm going to keep the marker on Schatz's to show that he was successful in his challenge. Okay, next is Shorty Henshaw, who's a 6. I think we're checking against the rating of the leader still at this point, as opposed to shots. So Henshaw's a 6 and Jared's a 10, so that's -4. I'm not sure if that's right, so the right way to do it, but anyway. Okay, so Henshaw wasn't successful. Okay, Vogler, who's a 6 as well. He rolls 11, and he is successful. And then Parsons is a 7. No, he's not. So since Vogler was the last one who was successful, oh, sorry, no, the random driver 6-6, that was Vogler. Okay, so that was 8. Okay, so that's Mark Martin. 7. Sorry about that. I forgot to write a roll for the random driver, and it turned out to be Mark Martin. So Martin wasn't successful. So Vogler is the leader because he was the last one to be successful in his challenges. Okay, and so now there's a challenge to Vogler. We roll. Put the mark up there to show that Vogler's the new leader. And start roll a 4-3. You get to see who's going to be challenging Vogler for the lead. So 4-3 is Reggie Ruggiero. And he's a 7. Vogler's also a 7. So we need to roll a 7-12 for him to take over. And Ruggiero successfully challenges for the lead. Okay. Now, because we had the pit stop under caution, the pit crew section of the last laps does not take place. So we just go right to the next section, which is green, to see if there's a bunch of green flag conditions. So go back to the race card and look at the green flag thing where we need to roll an 8-12, and we roll a 10, so there's going to be a green flag. So it's going to be yeah, I think this is the cars that are adjacent to the race leader, and one random. So I'll roll for that right now. So it's a 6-6. Okay. So we have next to the leader we have Rex White, Mike Stefanik, Richie Evans, and Greg Sachs. And then I rolled a 6-6 for the random driver, and that's Rich Vogler. And this is just check the race ratings. Okay, Ruggiero is only a 7, so it's quite possible, and I see there's a few 10s here, so it's quite possible that he's going to lose his lead. So Rex White has a +3 advantage over him, so he only needs a roll of 4-12 to take over. So yeah, indeed he does. Stefanik is also a 10, so only need to roll a 7-12, so Stefanik takes over. Takes the lead. Richie Evans is a 9. Yeah, and he takes over. Okay, Evans is a 9, Sachs is an 8. So, Sachs does not, and then Vogler's got the last challenge. -2, we roll an 8. Nope. So Evans is the leader. And so we have one final challenge, and that's the driver that's adjacent to the leader and who has the highest rating. So Ruggiero has a 7, Parsons has a 9, Steele has a 7, Saint-Amand has an 8. So Parsons will be challenging. If there was more than one driver with the same rating, it would go in order. So if there was another driver at the 12 o'clock position who was rated a 9, then that driver, if they were there, would be the one who would be challenging. If there was a 9 rated driver or a 9 rated driver in one of these positions down here, then Parsons would be the one, because he's sort of first. You know, you look at the 12 o'clock first, then 3 o'clock, then 6 o'clock, then 9 o'clock. So Parsons, so they both have the same race rating, so we just need to roll a 7 to 12, and we roll a 6. So Evans holds off the challenge and wins the race. Okay, so we've got the our race winner. So now we have to determine our finishing order. So this is a whole other kettle of fish here. So we'll take Evan's card off the thing, and I'll leave the marker there to show that's where he finished, because we're going to need to know that. So it's number 61, finishing first. Benny Parsons, whoever challenged the race leader on the last challenge and lost will finish as second. So it's Parsons finishing second. And then the next drivers that are next in line are the ones who were adjacent to the winner, and they weren't, and they don't have a lapped marker. So you start at the 12 o'clock position, I believe. Sorry, let me just check that again, because something rings a bell that I think at this stage it's, the order is a little bit different. Because I think okay, no, I think it's okay. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so so we look at the there's 3 other drivers that were adjacent to the leader at the end, and Ruggiero is a 7, Steele is a 7, Saint Amand is an 8. So Saint Amand actually finishes third, and then there's 2 7-rated drivers where we start at 12 o'clock. So Ruggiero gets 4th. Tim Steele, number 85, gets 5th. Okay, so next, what we do is we look at the, start going clockwise from the race leader's position and the drivers that were on the same groove. So everybody who's on this gray groove is next. And you look at the race ratings. So what you do is, you start here and start from the race leader's position and start going clockwise. Okay, daughter is a 10. So I know there's nobody rated higher than a 10 in this group. So daughter finishes next. Okay, Gordon is a 7. So we just keep going. We're going to look for more 10s. Okay, we have Herb Thomas. Who's next? Number 92. And then we go down here, 9, 9, 10. So Stefanik is next. Number 16. Stefanik finishes 8th. So then we go around that same groove again, and we're looking for the number 9 rated drivers. So 7, 7. Mike Eddy is a 9. So he's number 88. Butch Miller's a 7. Pancho Carter's a 9, so he finishes 10th. And Jimmy Spencer, number 23, finishes 11th. Okay, now we go around again and look at, see if there's any number 8 rated drivers, and nope. So then we go around again, starting from their leader, and we go number 7, so we got Jeff Gordon, finishes 12th. Brett Bodine finishes 13th. And Butch Miller finishes 14th. Okay, so we're finished with that's considered the lead group. So now we move on to the next group of drivers, and so what we do is we move on to the next groove. So we're going to be checking the top groove next, which is these 4 squares, and we're going to be going. I think we're going to be going this way. I think we go up, sort of up here and over to start. This is easy actually because we only have an 8, a 9, and a 10. So the number 10 rated driver here, Rex White, is next. Actually, we have to put this on the side because we have to. Because this is. I'm just going to put them down here. I'm going to start making columns of. That's a number 10 rated driver. And Dave Dayton has a race rating of 9, and Greg Sachs has a race rating of 8. So then we move out to the outside groove here, and so basically we go down here and then start working around here. So what we're going to do is look for, similar to the first thing there, we're going to be looking for any number 10 rated drivers first. And we have Ned Jarrett. So Jarrett will be put in here in the 10 column. Then we start down here again, and we're looking for number 9 rated drivers. And we have AJ Foyt. So we're going to put him here. We got Tom Pistone. Put him in the number 9 rated driver pile. And that's 8, 7, 8. So we have Donnie Schatz, who's a 9. Johnson is a 9, but he's got a yellow lap marker, so he's going to be later. Okay, so we're back here below the race leader again. So now we're checking for number 8. So we have Bill Venturini. He'll go on the 8 stack. And next is Rich Bickle. Sorry about that, folks. I guess ran out of room on my iPod. Yeah, so I guess next we have Sammy Swindell and Mark Martin. Then we're going back to the beginning again. Started going around looking for the number 7 driver. So we have Dick Trickle, Shorty Henshaw, Dick Hutcherson, and Rich Vogler. Okay, so that takes care of the non-lap driver. So we're back here. So now, we're looking for drivers with a single green lapped marker that are on the same groove as the winner. So we have Ken Schrader, Frank Kimmel, and sorry, I'm a bit colorblind. Sometimes I have trouble with red and green. So Katona is actually red lapped. So okay. Next would be anybody who had 2 green lapped markers on their card, but nobody does. So next we look at the yellow lap drivers, and we have 2 of them. There's one up here and one over here, but we're going here. So this one's first, Rusty Wallace, and then Junior Johnson, and then last is the Finnish drivers, Iggy Katona. Okay, so what you do is we just start going through here. So we start with the 10 rated driver, number 10 rated driver. So Rex White finishes next, and then Ned Jarrett. So that's 15th and 16th place, and so on. So you would go with the 9 rated drivers in order. So Dayton will be next, and then AJ Foyt, then Pistone, and then Donnie Schatz. And you would just sort of go on like that, and then you have your race results. So anyway, I hope you got some insight into that and how the game is played, and I recommend the game, and I hope that you'll enjoy it too. So thanks for watching, and see you later.